I left Nashville for my music career. Let's talk about it. First off, this is not going to be a video bashing Nashville. I think Nashville is awesome. I loved living there. Nashville is great. But I want to talk about why I left Nashville and moved to a small town for my music career. But before I do that, I think it makes sense to talk about why I moved to Nashville in the first place. I am a second generation professional musician. My parents were in Nashville and were signed to record labels and publishing companies and made albums and stuff and toured. So I always kind of knew that I would spend some time there because music is kind of the family business. So I moved to Nashville when I was 22 and I was like, all right, I'm going to go figure this out. Nashville is the best place in the world to learn how to be a professional musician, bar none. There are so many people there that are learning how to write a great song, how to book their tour, how to play a great show, how to produce. I was able to climb my way up the ladder, so to speak, to the point where people were listening to me and I was playing headline shows. I even got some cuts with some friends of mine on songs that did pretty well. And I even played guitar for one of my dream artists. It was the best place to be. Something happened when I turned 27 or so. I realized how much of my soul had been wrapped up in making music to make a living as opposed to making music to make music. Music became a way to pay rent instead of art. And I realized that was a really dangerous place to be because I just don't think that's the purpose of music. It's creative, it's inspirational. It doesn't make sense on a spreadsheet. It's not for that. And I found myself trapped in that. And I do think there's a lot of people in Nashville and LA and other music towns like that that are trapped in that cycle of making music to make a living instead of making a music to make art. I just remember feeling really empty. I remember going to coffee shops and hoping that I would get recognized by somebody for my music instead of going to coffee shops to work on a lyric that I was excited about. It just felt really disingenuous. During the pandemic, we all had a chance to re-examine ourselves. Realized that I gave up the ocean when I moved to Nashville because I was like, nope, I got to make a living doing this. I love playing music. That's going to be my job. And I grew up surfing all the time and sailing and fishing. And I realized that I just kind of ditched that way of life in order to build a career. And so in 2020, I built out a van and I went on a bunch of surf trips and adventures. I found this little surf town called Oceanside, California, an hour and a half away from LA, with an amazing musical community and just really wonderful people. But what I found moving to a small town was that nobody talked about music the way that they talk about music in Nashville. One of my friends, Tyson Mossenbacher, who's an amazing singer-songwriter, also lives out here. He said, yeah, I feel like nobody in Nashville talks about music. They just talk about how to make money with music, which I think is a very, very important point. I think so many musicians in Nashville get trapped thinking that they have to be hired for their music to mean anything, and they have to make money doing music for their music to be good art. I was in that trap, and it made me really sad. Was able to get out of that trap only by getting out of Nashville. So that's why I moved to Oceanside, and that's where we live now. This is my studio in our garage in California. I went surfing with friends this morning, and I still work with amazing musicians. I still tour all the time, and I am really, really excited about the creative season of life that I'm in now. And I know two things. One, I would have never learned how to do this as a job if I wasn't in Nashville, because that's really what shapes you. When you go to a writer's round and you hear somebody that plays a song that's 10 times better than your song, you have a choice. You're like, whoa, I can get better at this person, or I can get better and be at their level so that I can make a living doing this. And I learned so much during that time, and it was so important. But I do think now I'm at a different stage of life, and I need to spend time making things instead of trying to be as good as everybody else. I realize that being as good as everybody else sometimes means that you sound the same as everybody else. And I'm just not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in art, and I'm interested in making music for real people that live in small towns like Oceanside. That's what makes me excited now. I don't really get excited about having the most streams or being recognized in public. I feel like I'm able to be more of a person. And honestly, maybe the biggest part of it is my identity is not in my work anymore. My identity is in who I am. If you're in Nashville, And if it works for you, that's great. If you aren't losing that creative spark and you aren't trading music for making money, then Nashville is an amazing place to be. But I bet there might be some of you that are watching this in Nashville that feel like you're losing the music to the music industry. That's a sad place to be, and it doesn't have to be like that. You can make a living as a musician outside of Nashville. Honestly, there's a really good chance you can make a way better living as a musician outside of Nashville because it's so oversaturated. But once again, if you make music in Nashville and you feel inspired every day, that's the goal. That's the dream. And honestly, you might see me in Nashville because I do come back every couple months just to get a taste of it. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm just at the beginning of my YouTube journey, but I really love expressing myself like this. And who knows? Let's see what happens. Follow along for more.